It's been exactly a year since I worked on this CJ5. Best laid plans. Sometimes life just gets in the way, and that certainly happened in my life over the last year. But if you remember from the last episode, if you've been hanging around, if you're new to this channel, the last episode, my concern was gathering up all the parts that I had separated in different locations around the area and bringing them all over here into one location. And I brought a lot of the stuff in. And my plan is to go through it, separate it all out, and put them into containers. So I bought a bunch of containers, and that's my goal today, to sort of go through this stuff and then maybe talk a little bit about what are the items, where did I get them, how did I get them. Remember, this was back in 1977, so this is a long time ago. So let's go ahead, let's start going through all these parts and then talk about what they are. It's the beginning of February right now, and I'm down in my shop. The temperature outside is about 10 degrees, so it's cold out, and the heat's running in my shop. You'll hear that cycle on and off, so I apologize if you catch any of that interference. So the first thing I want to talk about are these fenders. Now, when I tore the Jeep apart, nearly everything that was metal on the Jeep was pretty much rusted out. Now, this is the Northeast. They use a lot of salt on the roads. The body rusted, the fenders rusted, all of that happened. So I had to buy a bunch of new parts. Now, one of the first things that I bought was that fiberglass body. You'd see that in one of the two previous episodes. The other thing that I had to buy was some replacement fenders. Now, this was 1977, and at that point the Jeep was only 11 years old. So there was a local Jeep dealer, and that's what it was called, the Jeep dealer, back in 77 in my town. And I spent a lot of time with those guys, sort of sourcing the parts that I needed. And the parts guy back at the time, his name was Billy. Billy was just a marvel of information. He knew Jeeps, he knew the parts, he knew the part numbers, and if I needed something, Billy could find it for me. So Billy was just a great resource. I had to buy these new fenders. These are NOS fenders. These are the fenders made by Jeep for the CJ5. In fact, these fenders all have the original NOS numbers written on the side of them. So these two fenders are both brand new fenders. So having to do any work on those in the future is going to be hopefully pretty easy to get these things freshened up and painted. Let's get these out of the way. Now, this Jeep was a Tuxedo Park, and it was the VIN number shows it as a Tuxedo Park. It was a Tuxedo Park when I bought it. Had all the Tuxedo Park badging. So my mission, my goal in all this is to do somewhat of a resto mod, whatever that ends up being. Had all these great plans in my head back in 77 when I was in my 20s. Right now I'm not entirely sure I know what it is I want or what I mean, but it has the Dauntless Oddfire V6 in it, the 225. That is one awesome engine. It just is, and for that little CJ5, it is a powerhouse. Now you turn around and you add the fiberglass body and you lighten it that much, I think it's going to be that much more of a powerhouse. So when I first planned this, I knew I wanted to do some modifications to the motor. So I bought these headers, and so the plan right now is still to do some level of modification to that engine. I don't know, we'll see. But either way, the plan is still to put the exhaust headers on it. That's the plan now. A year from now, who knows? But I've owned these things since '77, so why not use them or do something with them? Let's get those out of the way. So here are the bins that I bought. I bought a bunch of different sizes. These larger ones for larger parts, I guess. Medium size, a little bit smaller, and finally these small ones for small parts. I also bought a bunch of Ziploc freezer bags so that some of the really tiny parts that are in this pile over here. Pile may not look very big, but it's a lot of tiny parts that were in a box. The box gets chewed up by squirrels and mice, and we just got to go through it. We need to separate it out. So some of these parts I'm going to try and identify. It's been so many years, I'm not entirely sure, so I may get some of this wrong. If I do, you guys just let me know. So I believe this all has to do with the heater box that goes under the dash or on the firewall. I'm not sure exactly. And this is also pretty much the same part. This is the radiator core support that goes from the firewall out to the radiator itself. This is pretty typical. Even my CJ2A has one of these, and just keeps the radiator from rocking back and forth. This is the battery tray. This is brand new, and unfortunately all those years in a moist environment has really kind of turned this into mush. Something else we're going to have to work on. Looks like a collector for something, I'm not sure. Cans of paint. The original mirror to the Jeep. That's pretty cool. I don't know if we can clean that up again or not. All chrome plated on the back, which was typical for the Tuxedo Park. Everything on the Tuxedo Park was chrome. Definitely want to save that. Some sort of linkage for something. I don't know what. Brand new pedal. Just need to get the rubber that goes on the outside of it. I don't know if I have the rubber or not. So there's the original gas pedal. That's kind of cool. These are tail lights, and I don't know if I bought these or if these came off the Jeep originally, but may end up replacing those as well. Huh. Two of them, so maybe these are collectors, cross collectors. So this is the original vacuum operated windshield wiper, and of course the windshield frame has the holes for this, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I don't know if I'm going to try and put these back in. They suck, but they're pretty cool to look at. Like I said, resto mod. How much of it do I want to change? I really don't know right now. But these were really cool. Of course, if you have any experience with them, as soon as you give it the gas going up the hill, the vacuum sort of gets robbed from here, and they don't always work as well as they should. But I think they're cool. So vacuum lines, I believe the vacuum line is for this. So a bunch of the brackets that came off the Jeep, brackets and screws. A lot of these screws are stainless or chromed, so we definitely don't want to lose those. Those are going to go into a baggie. believe some of these, like this large Phillips head, probably went into the hinge, or almost likely these went into the hinge. The hinge for the windshield. God bless the squirrels and the mice do a lot of make a mess. All right, I'm going to separate all that and I'll bring you back when I get to the next part. In case you're new to the channel, one of the things that we spend a lot of time talking about is firearms history. We do a lot of gun restoration on the channel as well. And so some of you, if you've been here long enough, know that my family has a retail shop, firearms retail shop. Been running it for 59 years this year. And so back in the day, you know, when you're looking for containers, you didn't have all this plastic back when I did all this. So you look for any kind of a container that you can. And here's an old AA skeet load shotgun box. Pretty chewed up now, but again, just looking for any container that you could find. This is the seal that goes between the windshield and the cowl. So when you lay the windshield down, this is exposed. It's got all the openings for the ductwork, for the defroster and that kind of thing. We're not going to reuse this, but I need to keep it, so when I get to buy a new one, I've got to be able to compare it. Here's something interesting. Here's a screw inside. The screw's painted blue, which is the same color as the Jeep. So whatever this screw is for, I know it's a body screw. Don't ever take something apart and then wait for 40 years to put it back together, because life gets really, really fun, especially when you didn't label everything, which I didn't. But then I guess in my mind, it wasn't going to take me 40 years, so I'd get this all done within a year and remember what all of the screws and the parts were for. And I don't. We'll figure this out as we go, though. I'm going to dump all this out. So this Jeep and all of its parts were stored in a tin shed that my dad owns. That in itself is not all that important, but what is important is that my dad had walnut trees. These are all walnuts. So Dad loved his walnut trees. So the consequence of this was these walnuts attracted squirrels. Lots of squirrels. So many squirrels, in fact, that they sort of inhabited the entire building and had ways to get in and out. And they would chew on everything, and they used everything for nesting sites. So 2 squirrels beget more squirrels, which beget more squirrels. So they made a mess out of everything. So I am left all these years later going through squirrel stuff, all these nesting material and all of these walnuts, trying to find parts. And I'm thinking at some point you begin to look at this with diminishing returns. Now here's something. Here's a valve stem cover. Needle in a haystack on that one. All right, same thing. Let me sift through this. Another bolt. And I'll bring you back when we go through the next pile. So generally I don't get too concerned about this, but considering the sheer amount of material, nesting material and all of that, my cowardness took over and I decided to wear the mask and the rubber gloves. So here's something that's interesting. Here's something that's interesting. Here is an original tag that was on one of these parts, and it says Jeep replacement part number. The number's gone away, and it says made in the USA. Isn't that cool? Times certainly have changed, haven't they? I'm going to save that. I'm going to keep that. That's really cool. So this is a new defroster duct, literally, brand new. That would then come up through here, and then the exhaust vent would then mount up to be equal to the exhaust vent on the rubber seal as well. This is a speedometer cable. That's brand new. We bought that back in the day as well. So obviously my recollection's not there. There had to have been something wrong with that. Which is really kind of cool because you can go as fast as you want and it'll always read 0. More AA skeet boxes. You gotta love it. These are actually in pretty good shape. I may hang on to those. All right, there's the brand new rubber mounts for the radiator. Those are new. I'm going to guess that those are NOS. I'm going to guess that buying those back when I did, I got these out of the Jeep dealer, out of the parts store, the part guy. So my guess is that when I bought those were all original. This is, oh, this is cool. This is actually the seal that goes across the top of the grill. And we'll hold on to that, so when we buy a new one, we can compare it. Here is the dimmer switch. Now that's cool. So there's an original dimmer switch that was on the Jeep. I have been looking for this for so long. These are the original. I didn't know I still had them. These are the original V6 emblems that go on either side of the body of the Jeep. All chrome, painted. We'll have to find out what those are supposed to be and make them look original. That is so cool. I think those are going to get their own special little home. They're going to get their own special little home. Yeah, here's the other thing I have been looking for so long. These are, I knew I had them, I didn't know what I did with them. Tuxedo Park, see? Tuxedo Park. All original, boys and girls, all original. I think these emblems are now going to get their own box. Those alone are worth their weight in gold. Alright, I'll bring you back here in a little bit. I want to show you the top.